Welcome to the video. In this video, I want to go over this idea that I think if you apply this and you stick to this, not only will it help empower you as you continue along your journey, but it's something that is going to really help you to stay along your path without getting enticed or manipulated or distracted off of it. So what am I talking about? And this is a very important concept, and it's called staying in your knowingness. Because something that I've seen that is very common with many people, and I've seen this in myself, less so now because I've worked on this, but I see it with so many people now who are going through it, who I either know personally or have talked to, or even people like my girlfriend talks to, and I see it a lot in especially in the spiritual community, for a reason. And again, it's this idea of you're in your heart and you're going down the path you know that you're supposed to go down and the one you're being drawn to, but something keeps, boom, knocking you off course and moving you maybe back onto a path that's an old path, right? Like an old story. Or maybe there's something that's, someone is pressuring you off the path that you want to go down onto the path that's more comfortable for them for you to be on. And so there's this idea of staying in your knowingness and rooting yourself in your knowingness. And this is an idea from what's called conversations with God. Because a lot of times we will feel in our hearts that something is true and that our path is moving in this direction, and we know it to be true. But because we might not be able to explain to others why it's true, or because maybe we can't possibly at this moment articulate to others, which is using the mind over the heart, by the way, but articulate to others why it is true for us, we sometimes will give into pressure when someone's like, why would you do that? That's so stupid to do. Why would you go off and do this when it's so insecure and you have this secure thing over here? Or why would you break up with that person? It's like, he's amazing or she's amazing. Why would you do that even though in your heart you want to? Or why would you be with this person? They seem like not blah, 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 the person for you or whatever, but in your heart it is. And it's this idea of staying in your knowingness, because deep down, the idea behind this is we all truly know what actually resonates with our heart, what actually is aligned, what actually is good for us. And yet you will find so many people that will try and tell you what is good for you. And although a lot of these people mean well, and a lot of them don't mean well, by the way, a lot of times it's about their ego and how they are used to you and how the box they've put you in, and they're afraid of not being able to quantify you if you leave that box, not being able to hold you in place or for it to be secure in their own world. So that also happens. But yeah, it might be well-intentioned, but it doesn't matter, because it's your life to live. It's your experience that you're having, and you know what it is that either you need to do next or move more towards, that's going to enrich this experience for you, that's going to enhance this experience, that's more aligned to your heart. But a lot of people, again, they'll be going down that path, the one they know that they're being led down by their divine self, by their divine spirit, by God, by the universe, by your higher self, whatever you want to call it. But then they will allow themselves to be knocked off the path for a while, or maybe even a very long time, because someone criticizes or questions why they're going down that way. And maybe you can't think of a good, typical response, like a heady response, like, oh, justifying it in this way. And at the end of the day, the only justification you ever need to do anything is, I want to do it. The only justification you ever need to go down the path that you're being led to is, I just get a feeling that this is the right way to go. And if everyone asks, like, well, how do you know? It's like, I just know. And I don't need to justify it beyond there. This is also why it's good to have boundaries and say, you know what, I don't, I'm going to always listen to my heart over what someone else thinks that I should do with my life. And so it's this idea of staying in your knowingness. This is something I repeat to myself all the time, because especially with having a YouTube channel where I'm creating content that many people will see, thousands of people might see, you get a lot of unsolicited advice. You get a lot of suggestions, which aren't always bad, by the way. Again, a lot of these will be well-intentioned. Some of them aren't well-intentioned, but regardless, even if they are well-intentioned, it is always more important to stay in your knowingness than to take on advice from people who don't know your situation as well as you do, who don't have the feelings, the indications, the experiences that you have that make you unique in who you and are going to be taken into account when it comes to which path you're going to go down, right? So even if it's well-intentioned, like a lot of people, this happens with their parents, right? They'll want to go do one thing, but their parents will be like, no, we want you to become this, this, or that. And usually it's well-intentioned because from the parents' perspective, they're like, well, we want you to become this, and we're moving you in this direction, and almost even guilting you into it because we believe that's what's going to be best for you. It's going to give you the most, the best life possible. For example, I used to have a bunch of friends who were Indian, and it seems to be very prevalent in that culture for parents to kind of push their kids, especially men, towards being a doctor or a lawyer or these so-called socially acceptable social status type positions that not only earn a lot, but also have like a high social standing. Like there's a lot of pride behind it. And I'm not saying these aren't great careers, but they might not be great careers for you. In fact, I have a friend who is now a doctor, I believe, who that exact thing happened to him. He didn't want to become a doctor, and he probably shouldn't have become a doctor, but now he's a doctor because that's what ended up happening. Because he didn't stay in his knowingness to move towards what he truly wanted to do. Instead, he thought of all the reasons of why he couldn't and just went along with the plan that someone else had for him, not the plan that his heart had for him, right? And so, whenever you find yourself in a situation like this, where someone is trying to move you off your path, whether it's well-intentioned or not, sometimes it's harder when it's well-intentioned to resist it and to just keep going along with what you feel to be right for you. Because again, it's well-intentioned, they're being nice, whatever, but at the end of the day, it is still not what's going to be best for you. So, there's no face for you to save in the sense of like, oh, well, I'll just do it because I don't want to appear a certain way. And I think that's like very prevalent in our culture. It's like, well, they're being nice, so I'm just gonna be like, oh, thank you, yeah, I'll consider that, or maybe I'll go do that, or I'll feel pressured into and actually go do that. When in reality, they're still giving you this unsolicited advice or this unqualified advice because they really shouldn't actually be telling you what you should be doing. Giving suggestions is one thing from an open-hearted place. Maybe you've asked them like, what am I good at? What do you think I can improve? All this different stuff. And then they come in, and that's different because you're asking for it, right? You want this feedback from maybe a particular person that you vetted and went, you know what, this person is incredibly qualified. This person has lived their own life path. Maybe I'll ask them what they did, all this different stuff. So that's different, right? But it's your knowingness that led you to actually asking that person in the first place. And so if you stay in your knowingness, which again to me is staying in your heart, staying in that energy that is connected with the divine, which I think for all of you who are watching this, you probably have at least some form of connection with this. You have some form of expanded awareness to understand that this is there. And so you probably do know what it is. Most of you who are watching, at the very least, have started to ask and seek out what that is. And for a lot of you, you probably already have an idea of what path you truly feel compelled to move down, excited to move down, truly feel is the one you should move down. And once you know what that is, and it continues to be that from your heart, stay in your knowingness. And so the next time someone says you should do this, you can ignore it, you can respond like, I'm sorry, that's not what I want to do. And they could go off and off and off, and it doesn't matter because as long as you root yourself in your knowingness, you will keep yourself firmly on that path. You will not only empower yourself because you are setting a boundary by saying, I don't take advice about what I should do with my life unless I go out and ask specific people, again, that I have vetted and know that they have my best interests at heart and know that I will get honest answers from. I don't take that advice because you don't know what's best for me. A lot of people like to think they know what's best for others. And the fact of the matter is, no one is going to know what's best for you except yourself, except your higher self, except what is in your heart. It will always know what you need to do next. It will always give you the answers to what path to go down. And trust that. Stay in your knowingness. Stay in that pocket. Stay in that truth of what you're feeling, of what you're being led to. And anyone who's trying to distract you away from that path, cause you to veer off that path, you can ignore or just set clear boundaries with. And we're going to talk about boundaries in a video, in a more professional setting video, but I want to just give you this as well, because I think a lot of people are afraid to set boundaries because they're afraid of a reaction from the other person when they set a boundary. Your only responsibility when it comes to setting a boundary is to set the boundary and to keep the boundary. As long as that boundary remains aligned with who you are and what you represent and what you want. Your responsibility is not to how someone reacts to your boundary. And there will be a lot of people who will use emotional manipulation to try and circumnavigate your boundaries or completely break them down. There will be people who'll try and do that. They'll be the kind of person where if you, they break a boundary and you tell them that they have and you said, I'm not going to accept this, they will blow up at you and they will call you all sorts of things and they will try and emotionally manipulate you, but that's not your responsibility. Again, stay in your knowingness. You know what is true for you, what is right for you, so long as you are staying connected, doing the things that help you to do that, and you know that to be true, then stay in that. No matter what happens in the external world, no matter if anyone can't stand that you're assertive and keeping your boundaries and sticking to them, stay in your knowingness. Because it will be the best thing that you ever do. And if you do that, not only will it empower you to see that, hey, someone might blow up at me, someone might disagree with me, even someone close to me, a parent, whatever. But I stayed true to myself, and I can see that even despite the risk of that happening, I've proven to myself that I can stand in the face of it firm and grounded in the face of it and not be swayed by other people's, say, emotional manipulation or even what seems to be good intentions. Because at the end of the day, once again, you know what's best for you if you really, really start to connect with your heart, if you connect with your higher self, with your divine self, that which you are, at the end of the day, co-creative, divine, infinite being. That has the answers for you. More than anyone else is going to give you the answers, right? You know, I can't even give you the answers. I can only maybe guide you in a certain way and take it on board only if it resonates with you. You know, if in any of these videos, I speak for like 10 minutes and then you're like, I don't resonate with any of that, don't do it. You know, it's not a you should or shouldn't. It's more of this is something that has served me and has served other people that I've seen it serve, people who I've given it to and they've gone off and gotten results with it. I've gotten results with it. So I'm inviting you to do it because it may also give you results if it resonates. But if it doesn't resonate, either it's not what you need right now or it's just something that might not work for you. So that's also the case with anyone who's trying to come in and knock you off that path. And so stay on that path. You know, for example, let's say I know my pathway is that way. I'm gonna stay on that path. Yeah, there's an opportunity to go that way, and someone might be, dude, you got to go that way. Like that is the way, that way right there. But in my heart, I know actually is to go that way, and I will always choose that way if that's where my heart is telling me. I don't care if the entire rest of the world is telling me to go that way. If my heart is telling me to go that way, I will stay in my knowingness and I will go that way. And I invite you to do the same. Take this on board if this resonates with you. Let me know your thoughts down below. As always, I love you, and I will see you in the next video.